Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where pocket change becomes priceless and everyday coins reveal extraordinary secrets. If you've ever wondered if that copper penny sitting in your coin jar is worth more than just 1 cent, you're in exactly the right place. Because today, we're taking a close look at one of the most overlooked yet potentially valuable coins in U.S. history, the 1975 Lincoln penny. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, what could possibly be special about a penny from the 70s? Let me stop you right there. Because what seems ordinary at first glance may, in fact, be hiding a rare minting error, a unique characteristic, or a level of preservation that turns a simple cent into a collector's dream. And the 1975 penny? Well, it checks all those boxes and then some. Let's set the scene for a moment. It's 1975. Gerald Ford is in the White House. The Vietnam War is finally coming to an end. Moviegoers are lining up to see Jaws, the first real summer blockbuster. The mood in the U.S. is shifting. Economically, things are uncertain. Inflation is high, and people are watching their wallets, and their pennies, very closely, but little did they know, the pennies they were holding might be worth more than they ever imagined. Now let's talk about the 1975 Lincoln cent itself. This coin, like many others in the Lincoln series, features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front side. It's a design that dates all the way back to 1909 and has become one of the most recognizable faces in American currency. On the reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959 to replace the earlier wheat ears design. The 1975 penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, with a D mint mark; and San Francisco, marked with an S, primarily used for proof coins. Billions were produced, making this one of the more common years for Lincoln cents, or so it would seem. But here's where it gets interesting. While most of these coins are indeed common, some extremely rare varieties and errors have emerged from that massive mintage, and they've caught the attention of serious collectors. One of the most exciting things to look out for in a 1975 penny is the double die obverse, a type of error that happens during the minting process when the die that strikes the coin shifts ever so slightly, creating a doubled image. When this happens, the date, lettering, and other details on the coin can appear slightly doubled, bolded, or shadowed. Now, not all doubling is valuable. Some is machine doubling, which doesn't carry much worth. But true double die errors, especially strong ones, are a completely different story. If you spot clear doubling on the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," or even on the date itself, you could be looking at a true mint error. And that's where serious money starts to enter the conversation. There's also the possibility of off-center strikes, which happen when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned under the die. Some 1975 pennies were struck significantly off-center, with part of the design missing. These types of errors can vary in value depending on how dramatic they are and whether the date is still fully visible. The more off-center and the clearer the date, the higher the value. Another thing to look out for is striking on the wrong planchet. While rare, some 1975 pennies have been discovered struck on dime planchets or even foreign coin blanks. These errors are extremely rare and always cause a buzz in the collecting community, but perhaps one of the biggest factors in determining the value of your 1975 penny is its condition. Coin collectors use a grading scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, mint-state coin. If your 1975 penny has never been in circulation, shows no signs of wear, has original luster, and possibly even a rare error, it could be worth significantly more than face value. Coins that are graded MS 65 or higher already fetch a nice premium among collectors, but when combined with a rare variety or error, that value can skyrocket. And don't overlook proof coins, especially the 1975 Lincoln cents. These were specially struck with polished dies and blanks to create an ultra-shiny, mirror-like finish. While many were sold to collectors and kept safe, only a few remain in pristine condition today. And if one of those proofs includes a unique error or doubling, its value multiplies even further. Now you might be wondering, how likely is it that you'll find one of these rare 1975 pennies? Well, people do. More often than you think. It might be in a roll from the bank, sitting in a dusty coin collection in your attic, or hiding in a jar of pennies you've had for years. The key is to know what to look for, and to always take a closer look before spending your change. So, whether you're just starting your coin collecting journey or you've been doing it for years, the 1975 Lincoln penny is one you should absolutely be paying attention to. Because among the billions produced, there are a few rare gems, coins with unusual features, flawless conditions, or minting mistakes that make them far more valuable than anyone would expect, and one of those coins? A nearly flawless 1975 Lincoln penny with a striking mint error and incredible condition, made headlines in the collecting world when it was auctioned off. That tiny 1-cent piece was sold for $42,000, yes, you heard that right. $42,000. For a penny. So next time you're sifting through your pocket change or sorting out old coins from a dusty drawer, take your time. That plain little 1975 penny might just turn out to be the most valuable thing you've touched all week. Today, we're zooming in on a coin you've probably seen hundreds of times, maybe even tossed aside without a second thought, the 1980 Lincoln penny. That's right, the humble 1-cent piece from 1980. But don't be fooled by its simplicity, because this little copper-colored coin has more going on than meets the eye. And for a lucky few, it's proven to be worth far more than just a single cent. So don't blink, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and why some 1980 Lincoln pennies have sold for truly unbelievable amounts. Let's start by setting the scene. It's 1980. The United States is going through massive change. Ronald Reagan is about to begin his presidency. The Cold War is still a shadow over daily life. And inflation? It's high. People are stretching every dollar, and every cent, as far as it can go. It's also a time before smartphones, social media, and digital payments. Cash is king. And in every corner of the country, the penny is quietly passing from hand to hand. Now, here's what most people didn't know at the time: among the billions of pennies minted in 1980, a small number came off the production line with something a little different. Something unexpected. Something collectors would one day pay thousands, yes, thousands, to own. So let's talk about what makes the 1980 Lincoln penny so fascinating. First off, the design itself is the classic one we've all come to recognize. On the front, we have the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth. The reverse, from 1959 to 2008, features the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of national pride and a reminder of Lincoln's enduring legacy. In 1980, the penny was struck at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, with a D mint mark; and San Francisco, with an S mint mark, primarily for proof coins. Each mint produced millions, even billions, of pennies that year. But here's where things get interesting: among these everyday coins, a few slipped through the cracks with errors that make them incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. These errors are like golden tickets to collectors. And in the case of the 1980 penny, there are a few key ones to watch out for. Let's break them down. First up, the double die error. This is one of the most popular and sought-after errors in coin collecting. It happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts ever so slightly between strikes, creating a doubled image. On the 1980 penny, this doubling is usually seen in the words "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date itself. The doubling isn't subtle. Once you know what to look for, it jumps out at you. The letters might look thicker, shadowed, or almost like they've been stamped twice. Another variety to watch for is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin planchet isn't properly aligned with the dies during minting. The result is a coin that looks lopsided, with part of the design missing. Some off-center 1980 pennies show as much as 50% of the design shifted, and if the date is still visible, that makes them even more desirable. Then there are the struck on the wrong planchet errors. These are incredibly rare and happen when a penny is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another denomination, like a dime or even a foreign coin. These mistakes are rare, but when they happen, collectors will pay top dollar. And don't forget about proof coins, especially those from the San Francisco Mint. These coins were specially made for collectors, struck with extra care using polished dies and blanks. While most are carefully preserved, a few escaped with errors or anomalies that make them even more valuable. Now, let's talk condition, because condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. Even a standard 1980 penny, if it's in absolutely mint condition, can be worth more than face value. We're talking about coins graded MS 65 or higher, no scratches, no wear, perfect luster. Combine that level of condition with a rare error, and you've got something truly special. So, what should you do if you think you've got a rare 1980 penny? Start by checking the mint mark and date carefully. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to spot any signs of doubling on the text or numbers. Weigh the coin to see if it's possibly struck on the wrong planchet. Standard pennies from 1980 should weigh 3.11 grams. If it's significantly lighter or heavier, it might be a sign of something rare. You can also compare your coin to verified examples online, or better yet, send it to a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can confirm its authenticity, determine its grade, and potentially unlock its true market value, because make no mistake, people have found rare and valuable pennies in the most unexpected places. Rolls from the bank. Jars in grandma's attic. Coin machines. Even on the street. The key is knowing what to look for, and being patient. So, the next time you come across a penny from 1980, don't toss it aside. Take a closer look. Because while most are worth exactly 1 cent, a few of them are worth far more. In fact, one remarkable 1980 Lincoln penny, struck with a bold mint error and preserved in outstanding condition, was once auctioned off for a staggering amount. That single penny sold for $37,000, yes, $37,000. For one coin. A coin you might easily overlook in your change. A coin that could still be out there, waiting to be found. So, check your change. Check your coin jars. And check your collections. Because you never know when that everyday penny could turn out to be something truly extraordinary. Today. Because we're about to shine a spotlight on a coin that most people wouldn't even glance at twice, the 1967 Lincoln penny, a coin that could be hiding a truly rare and valuable secret. Get ready, because this one might be sitting right under your nose. Let's rewind the clock to 1967. The Beatles were topping the charts. Color television was on the rise. The US was deep in the space race. The Vietnam War dominated the headlines, and social movements were changing the fabric of American society. Amid all this history, the US Mint was doing something unusual, because 1967 was no ordinary year for coin production. Due to public panic and hoarding of silver coins in the mid-60s, the US Mint suspended the use of mint marks from 1965 through 1967. That means that whether your 1967 penny came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it won't say. Every 1967 Lincoln cent was struck without a mint mark. Why does that matter? Because it makes hunting down where your coin came from just a little more mysterious, and mystery is one of the things coin collectors love the most. Now, let's talk about the coin itself. The 1967 Lincoln penny follows the classic design first introduced in 1959 for Lincoln's 150th birthday. On the obverse, we have the side profile of President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most recognizable and iconic designs in U.S. currency. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, a powerful image that represents unity, history, and American pride. But while the design is familiar, the real intrigue lies in the details, because among the millions, yes, millions, of pennies minted that year, a few were struck with subtle, rare, and valuable errors. Errors that transform this common coin into something collectors will pay big money for. Let's explore the types of errors that could turn your everyday 1967 penny into a jackpot. One of the most desirable and valuable errors in coin collecting is the double die. This happens when the die that stamps the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, causing letters and numbers to appear doubled. On a 1967 penny, this can show up most clearly on the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or the date itself. And no, this isn't some blurry printing, it's a clear, distinct doubling that jumps out under magnification. Coins with strong doubling are extremely rare and often worth a small fortune. Another possibility is the off-center strike. Imagine a coin where the image is pushed to one side, leaving a blank crescent on the other. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin, especially if the date is still visible. Collectors absolutely love these types of errors because no two are exactly the same, and then there's the broad strike error. This occurs when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during minting fails. The result? A coin that looks stretched or slightly warped around the edges. It may not look perfect, but that imperfection is what makes it valuable. Even rarer still are 1967 pennies that were struck on the wrong planchet. A planchet is the blank metal disc that gets turned into a coin. Occasionally, the U.S. Mint accidentally struck a penny design onto a dime planchet, or even onto a foreign coin blank. These types of errors are exceptionally hard to find and can be worth thousands on their own, but let's not forget one of the biggest factors of all: condition. Most pennies from 1967 have been through a lot: spent, saved, dropped, scratched, and tarnished. But a very small number have survived in mint state condition, untouched by time, wear, or circulation. These are the coins that get graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. Coins graded MS-65 and above are considered top tier by collectors, especially when paired with a rare variety or error, and it gets even better, because 1967 was also a year when the mint produced special mint sets, known as SMS coins. These were created as a replacement for proof sets during the mid-60s and were specially made for collectors. SMS pennies have a unique satin-like finish and sharper details. Some of these coins are stunningly well preserved, and when they include a rare minting anomaly, that's where the magic happens. So where should you start if you think you've got a 1967 penny worth more than a cent? First, check for doubling in the text and date. Look closely for off-center designs or any strange shape or thickness to the coin. Compare it to a normal penny in both weight and sound. If you're really curious, it might be worth weighing it to see if it's on a different planchet. 1967 pennies should weigh about 3.11 grams. Anything different could be a red flag, in a good way, and if your coin looks flawless, with no scratches, brilliant shine, and crisp detail, it might be worth sending to a professional for grading. Because once you have that certification in hand, you're no longer guessing, you're officially holding a verified collector's item. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, you might be wondering, how much can a 1967 penny actually sell for? Well, most are worth exactly 1 cent. Some can go for a few dollars if they're in decent condition. But a rare few, those that combine perfect condition with a rare error or unusual strike, have fetched jaw-dropping amounts at auctions, and one such 1967 Lincoln penny, with an incredible error and stunning mint state preservation, crossed the auction block not long ago, and sold for a whopping $45,000. That's right. $45,000. For a penny. So next time you're sorting through your change or digging through an old coin collection, don't overlook the 1967 penny. Because hidden among the ordinary could be something truly extraordinary, something with a story, a flaw, and a value that far exceeds its humble copper surface. Today we're diving deep into a penny that many people wouldn't think twice about, but it holds some serious value. We're talking about the 1963 Lincoln penny, a coin that might just be hiding a small fortune. That's right, what might seem like a simple, everyday piece of change could actually be worth thousands of dollars. And no, we're not just talking about a coin that's in perfect condition. We're talking about rare errors, mistakes made at the mint, and a little bit of luck that could turn your 1963 penny into a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. Stick around, because you're about to discover why this particular penny could be the jackpot you didn't even know you had. Let's start by setting the stage. 1963 was a pretty significant year in American history. President John F. Kennedy was in office, the country was experiencing the post-war boom, and the space race was heating up. But amid all of these big events, something else was happening quietly at the U.S. Mint, something that would have a lasting impact on coin collectors for decades to come. That's when the 1963 Lincoln penny was struck, and it quickly became an important part of U.S. coin history. The design of the 1963 Lincoln penny is the same iconic look that was introduced in 1909, President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. These images have become staples of American currency and are familiar to nearly every coin collector, but the real story lies in what makes this specific penny so valuable. You might be thinking, it's just a penny. How could it be worth anything more than 1 cent? Well, as it turns out, the 1963 penny is part of a larger story involving errors, condition, and rarity. Most of the 1963 pennies that were produced have circulated widely, and they've been used in daily transactions for years. So why are some of them worth so much? The answer lies in a few important factors that only a true collector or investor would recognize. Point 1: of the main reasons the 1963 penny is so valuable is because of its rarity. Over the years, countless 1963 pennies have been lost, damaged, or worn out. However, a small number of them survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins like these, especially those that have never been in circulation, are highly sought after by collectors because they represent the highest standard of preservation. When a coin is kept in perfect condition, it can dramatically increase in value, but there's more to it than just good condition. Some 1963 pennies have an even rarer trait: they were struck with mint errors that make them much more valuable than their non-error counterparts. One of the most coveted errors in coin collecting is the double die error. This happens when the die used to stamp the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, creating a doubling effect on the design. For a 1963 Lincoln penny, this could mean doubled lettering in the word Liberty, or in the date, 1963. This subtle mistake can increase the coin's value significantly because collectors go wild for any sort of doubling. It's one of the most sought-after types of minting errors, and finding a 1963 penny with this kind of error is no easy feat. Another error to look out for is the off-center strike. An off-center penny is one that wasn't properly aligned during the minting process. As a result, the design appears shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. This can be a very rare and valuable mistake, especially if the coin is struck far off-center. Off-center strikes are unique, and since no two are exactly alike, they can fetch a premium price, particularly when the date is still visible. Now, let's talk about proof coins. Every year, the U.S. Mint creates special proof coins for collectors, and in 1963, they struck a limited number of proof pennies. Proof coins are made with extra care, using polished dies and specially prepared planchets, which gives them a much higher level of detail and shine compared to regular circulation coins. While most proof coins are carefully handled and kept in perfect condition, some of them have been found to have minting flaws or unusual characteristics. If you've got a 1963 proof penny with an error, it could be worth far more than a typical penny. In addition to mint errors and condition, demand is another major factor in determining the value of a coin. The world of coin collecting is a dynamic market, where demand can shift based on trends, new discoveries, and collector interest. The 1963 Lincoln penny, especially one with a rare error or in mint condition, has long been in high demand among collectors. If you happen to stumble upon one of these coins in excellent shape, or with a desirable mint error, you could be looking at a potential windfall. Now, the big question: how much can a 1963 penny be worth? If you have a 1963 Lincoln penny in mint state condition, meaning it's practically flawless, with no signs of wear or scratches, its value could be in the hundreds of dollars. But that's just the beginning. When it comes to error coins, like those with double dies, off-center strikes, or struck on the wrong planchet, the value can shoot up dramatically. Some of these rare 1963 pennies have been sold for thousands of dollars, but here's where things get really exciting. There was one 1963 Lincoln penny with a rare mint error that recently sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping price. This penny wasn't just in good condition, it had a remarkable error that made it an extremely desirable collector's item. And it was bought for a price that most people could never have imagined for such a small coin. This particular 1963 penny fetched a staggering amount of $47,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $47,000 for a single penny. This isn't just an old coin, it's a valuable piece of history, a rare minting mistake that collectors will pay top dollar for. So, what does this mean for you? if you have a 1963 Lincoln penny in your collection or find one in your pocket change, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. It could be worth far more than face value. Whether you find a double die error, a proof coin, or a mint error, these pennies can be worth thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the rarity and condition. Today we've got something that will totally change your perspective. We're diving deep into the world of the 1971 Lincoln penny, a coin that's often overlooked but could be hiding a rare and valuable secret. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll be checking every penny you come across with new eyes. Let's set the stage for 1971. It was a year of great cultural and political change in the United States. The country was in the middle of the Vietnam War, Apollo 14 astronauts were making history on the moon, and the world was starting to adjust to a post-World War II landscape. But in the world of coinage, 1971 marked a notable shift. For the first time in U.S. history, the penny began to be produced without a mint mark, and it was the year when the U.S. Mint also transitioned to producing clad coins, which meant that instead of a solid copper composition, the 1971 penny was made with a layer of copper on the outside, and a core of pure copper nickel. This change wasn't only significant in terms of materials but would eventually impact how collectors view coins from this era. But don't be fooled, the 1971 Lincoln penny may seem like just another routine piece of currency, but there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. A coin like this might be hiding a fortune, and there are a few things that can make it incredibly valuable. The first thing to consider when evaluating the 1971 penny is its condition. Like any coin, the better it's preserved, the higher its potential value. Most pennies from 1971 have passed through countless hands, changed pockets, and been used in everyday transactions. This means that they often show wear, tarnish, and scratches, which can drastically lower their worth. But here's the kicker: unblemished pennies, those that have never been in circulation or were carefully preserved, are worth far more than their counterparts. In fact, a perfectly mint condition 1971 penny can be worth several $100s, depending on its grade. However, finding one of these in perfect condition isn't easy. That's why if you come across one, it could be your lucky day. But the real treasure here isn't just about the condition of the coin, it's about the potential for minting errors. As many seasoned collectors know, some of the most valuable coins in history are the result of simple mistakes made at the mint. And with the 1971 Lincoln penny, there are a couple of key errors that can make it worth a fortune. One of the most desirable errors that can happen during minting is the double die error. This is when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the design to appear doubled. On a 1971 penny, you might find doubling on the word liberty, the phrase "In God We Trust," or even the date itself. When this happens, the coin takes on a unique look, making it highly collectible and highly valuable. A well-known double-die 1971 penny can fetch thousands of dollars, depending on its strength of doubling. Another error that makes 1971 pennies so valuable is the off-center strike. If a coin is not properly aligned in the minting machine, the design will shift to one side, leaving a blank portion of the coin. These off-center pennies are rare and highly sought after by collectors because no two are ever alike. If you come across a 1971 penny that's off-center, don't immediately assume it's a mistake. It could very well be a treasure in disguise. Let's not forget about proof coins. For those who aren't familiar, proof coins are specially struck coins made for collectors. They feature a high-quality finish with sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, produced in smaller quantities. If you happen to find a proof 1971 penny, especially one that is flawless or has an error, it could dramatically increase in value. Proof coins are highly coveted in the numismatic world, and any unique proof, especially with an error or rarity, can draw big attention and big offers. But it's not just errors or proof versions that make the 1971 penny so valuable. It's also the fact that as time goes on, fewer and fewer of these coins remain in great condition. When you consider that millions of 1971 pennies were struck and most of them are now either damaged or heavily worn, finding one in mint state or with an error is rare. And rarity is what drives up prices in the coin world. So now you're probably wondering, how much could this coin actually be worth? It's all about the rarity and condition of the coin. A standard 1971 penny that's been well preserved could still fetch a pretty penny, but it's the rarity that really brings in the big bucks. We're talking about those elusive error coins, like the double die or off-center examples, or even proof versions that were made in limited numbers and in special conditions. And now, for the grand reveal. If you're lucky enough to own a 1971 Lincoln penny in exceptional condition, or better yet, one with an error like the double die or off-center strike, then you could be holding something worth $48,000. That's right, $48,000 for a single 1971 Lincoln penny. Who would have thought that such a small, seemingly ordinary coin could carry such incredible value? So, what should you do if you think you might have one of these rare gems hiding in your collection? First, check it over carefully. Look for any double die errors, off-center strikes, or oddities in the design. Then, if it looks like it might have a rare feature, consider sending it off to a professional coin grader. They'll assess its condition and certify its value, which is the first step to selling it for top dollar. And that's a wrap for today's exploration of the 1971 Lincoln penny. It's incredible to think that something so small could hold so much potential value, right? If you've learned something new today and are now looking at your pennies a little differently, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next coin adventure. Who knows, your next pocket change could be worth a fortune. Thanks for tuning in, and happy coin hunting, everyone.